Our Torah portion this week opens with God giving instructions to Moshe, in which the very first building fund campaign is launched. Spoiler alert, it was a success. And at the end of the process, words that were spoken that probably were only spoken that one time in the history of Jewish fundraising, wherein Moshe announced to the people, "Ganuk, stop, don't bring any more." The Israelites are invited to participate in the creation of the Mishkan, this portable sanctuary in the wilderness, and it is based on their sense of generosity, their commitment, if you will, to the project. And the rest of the parasha then goes through a litany of details describing the sanctuary space itself, the variety of ritual objects. There's the brass altar that was used in the courtyard for sacrifices, the smaller golden altar that was inside the Mishkan itself that was used for the burning of incense. We're told about the table of showbread that was placed on one side. Opposite of that was the menorah, the 7-branched candelabrum that was lit routinely and regularly by the Kohanim, and in fact, it became a symbol, an emblem of the modern state of Israel and incorporated into its crest. So we're told all about the various pieces that need to be made and the materials that are to be used, some of them quite unusual and exotic, and amongst those, we're told that in the stones that are to form the three columns of the breastplate of the Kohen Gadol, amongst the stones was a lapis. Gemologist Jane Herzig suggests that the lapis may have been chosen, but that strictly speaking, it's really not a gem, but a rock. I did not know that either. And the value of it is determined based on the proportion of composite materials that are inside of it, which lends to the suggestion that the stone in some ways symbolizes as well the composite nature of the people of Israel, and that the value of them is enhanced only when we fully appreciate each of the constituent parts. The Kohanim, the Leviim, and the regular Israelites, each of the tribal groupings and the diverse individuals, all of them together become this very valuable stone. And as the parasha goes on, it describes not only a shopping list, but it details how each of the objects are to be made. Biblical scholar Nahum Sarna observes that in providing the architectural details for the construction of the Mishkan and all of its appurtenances, that the Torah uses metaphoric terms, ish meaning man and isha meaning woman, ach meaning brother, and achot meaning sister, to explain how the parts of the Mishkan were to go together. The language that the Torah uses about the relationship of the parts of the tabernacle are also drawn from and parallel the relationships that we as human beings experience. For example, in the construction of the ark, we're told that the ark was to be this magnificent box, and the top of it was to be this solid gold piece on which two kruvim, two sort of angelic beings, were to be formed, and their wings sort of reached over the top. But the most powerful element is that we're told that these two angelic beings were facing each other, ish el achiv, one man facing his brother. And the Talmud tells us that the voice of God emanated from the space between the two brothers, looking at each other, and that when they weren't, when something went amiss, the voice of God went silent. The Torah, and indeed the entirety of the Tanakh, the entirety of the Bible, gives us too many tragic stories of brothers turning away from each other and the divine presence being banished. A reality that has persisted through the centuries. When we don't see each other as a reflection of ourselves, we don't see the the brother in the other, and the divine voice continues to fall silent. Going a little deeper into the Parasha, when it talks about the coverings that sheltered and protected this magnificent edifice, we are told that the panels of fabric, these massive panels, were joined together, attached to each other, Isha el achota, one sister, one woman to the other. And when that is done, the text says, the tabernacle, the Mishkan, becomes one whole. Even Ezra, the remarkable 12th century biblical commentator, explains that the expression Isha el achota was meant to emphasize that when these panels were fit together, there was no gap between them. And the example he uses is of the mythological creature, the Leviathan, of whom it was said in the book of Job that the scales of this mythical creature were joined, ish el achiv, brother to brother, so closely joined that not even the air could get between them. So the Torah telling us that the construction of the Mishkan demanded, necessitated, required that everything fit together, each thing in its appropriate and proper place. Ish el achiv, Isha el achota, one man to his brother, one woman to her sister. And in this way also, it was a metaphor for the Jewish people of that era and for all eras. That only when we recognize the unique contribution of each piece, of each person, are we able to join it together, and only when we join together all of the pieces and all of the people does the tabernacle, the sanctuary of divine space, does the community become whole. The relationship between the parts of the Mishkan as a metaphoric reflection of the relationship amongst the parts of the Israelite community of that era. The realization that God only speaks when the kruvim, when the angelic beings face each other, brother to brother, ish el achiv, a reminder that we need to do the same. The wholeness and viability of the ancient Mishkan depended on the interconnectedness of all its parts. The strength and the stability of the Jewish people depends on our ability to relate to one another. Isha el achota, sister to sister. Ish el achiv, brother to brother. The Torah uses these human relationships to describe not only the ideal model of a divine sacred space, but more profoundly, how to build a community that is worthy of becoming a dwelling place for God. I was reflecting on this dafka for this evening as we celebrate what I hope will become an annual tradition of Chai Shabbat, of recognizing people for their length of commitment and the unique role that they have played for the time that they've been part of the community. 18 years, 36 years, 54, 72, and yes, 90. Or in my case, I think it's 0.7. And counting. But it is a way for us to do as the Parasha says, as brothers, as sisters, as part of a community that is stronger when we are united and together, appreciating the uniqueness that each of us brings to Rodef Sholem, and know that we are stronger because we see blessings that we are to each other. Haverim, let me invite you to rise as able as we continue on page 56 with Aleinu.